You're not? Isn't it ridiculous? You don't really imagine he's...
I know, dear. But don't say it's ridiculous because the papers were full of it. I don't know about New York, but there was a half page about a man missing even longer than Larry, and he turned up from Burma.
He couldn't have wanted to come home very badly, Mom.
Don't be so smart.
You can have a hell of a time in Burma.
So I've heard.
Mother, I'll bet you any money that you're the only woman in the country who after 3 years is
You're
still...
sure?
Yes, I am.
Well, if you're sure, you're sure. You don't say it on the radio, but I'm sure that in the dark at night they're still waiting for their sons.
Mother, you're absolutely...
Now stop it. Now don't be so damn smart. All of you. There are just a few things you don't know. All of you. And I'll tell you one of them, Annie. Deep down in your heart, you've always been waiting for him.
No, Kate.
But deep in your heart, Annie,
She ought to know, shouldn't
don't
she?
let them tell you what to think. Listen to your heart. Only your heart.
Why does your heart tell you he's alive?
Because he has to be.
But why, Kate?
Because certain things have to be, and certain things can never be. Like the sun has to rise. It has to be. That's why there's God. Otherwise, anything could happen. But there's God. So some things can never happen. I would know, Annie, just like the day he got into that terrible battle. Did he write me? Was it in the papers? No. But that morning, I couldn't lift my head off my pillow. Ask Joe. Suddenly, I knew. I knew. And he was nearly killed that day. And you know I'm right.
No, Kate.
I have to have some tea.
Annie, how are ya? Gee whiz.
Why, Frank, you're losing your hair.
He's got responsibility.
Gee whiz.
Without Frank, the stars wouldn't know when to come out.
You look more womanly. You've matured.
Easy, Frank. You're a married man.
Are you still haberdashering?
Why not? Maybe I too become president. How's your brother? Got his degree out here.
Oh, George has his own office now.
Don't say. And your father. See,
Fine. I'll be in to see Lydia.
how about it? Does Dad expect to grow up soon?
I really don't know. I haven't...
Well, because I feel, that if an intelligent man is your father and is put in jail, there ought to be a law that says you either execute him or you have him go after 8 years.
You want to hand me that letter, Frank?
That's alright. I'll finish the horoscope tonight, Kate. See you later, Anne. You look wonderful.
Haven't they stopped talking about Dad?
Nobody talks about him anymore.
Gone and forgotten, Kate.
Tell me. Because I don't want to meet anybody on the block if they're going to talk
I
about
don't want you to worry about it.
Do they still remember the case, Joe? Do they talk about you?
Only one who talks about me is my wife.
That's because you keep on playing policeman with all the kids. Oh, their parents hear out of you as jail, jail, jail.
Actually, what happened was this. When I got out from the penitentiary, the kids took a certain interest in me. You know kids. I was like the expert on the jail situation. And as time passed, they got it confused and I ended up a detective.
Except that they didn't get it confused. Hands on police badges from the Post Toasties boxes.
Gosh, it's wonderful to hear you all laughing about it.
Why? What'd you expect?
Last thing I remember on this block was one word. Murderers. Do you remember that, Kate? Mrs. Hammond standing in front of our house and yelling that word? She's still around, I suppose.
They're all still around.
Don't listen to her. Every Saturday, the whole gang is in the arbor playing cards. All the people that yelled murder are taking my money now.
Don't, Joe. Don't fool her. She's a sensitive girl. They still remember about Dad. It's different with him. He was exonerated. And Father's still there. That's why I wasn't so enthusiastic about your coming. Honestly, dear, I know how sensitive you are. And I told Chris, I said, I
Listen,
don't...
you do like I did and you'll be alright. The day I come home, I get out of my car. Except not in front of the house. On the corner. You should have been here, Annie. And you too, Chris. You'd have seen something. Everybody knew I was getting out that day. Picture it now. Portraits were loaded. Nobody believed that I was innocent. The story was I pulled a fast one getting myself exonerated. So, I get out of my car, and I walk down the street. But very slow. And with a smile. The Beast. I I was the beast. The guy who sold cracked cylinder heads to the Army Air Force. The guy who made 21 P-40s crash into the coast of Australia. Kid walking down the street that day, I was guilty as hell. Except I wasn't. And I had court papers in my pocket to prove I wasn't. So, I walked past the porches. Result, 14 months later, I got one of the best shops in the state again. Respecting man again. Bigger than ever.
Joe McGuts.
It's the only way you lick in his guts. The worst thing you could have done was move away. You made it hard for your father when he gets out. That's why I tell you, I like to see him move right back on this block.
How could they move back?
It's not going to end until they move back. Until people play cards with him again. And talk to him and laugh with him. If you play cards with a man, you know you can't be a murderer.
Don't you hold anything against him?
Annie, I never believed in crucifying people.
But he was your partner. He dragged me through the
Well,
mud.
he ain't my sweetheart, but you gotta forgive, don't you?
You either, Kate? Don't you feel
The next time you write Dad,
I don't write to him.
well, sometime you should.
No, I've never written to him. Neither has my brother. Say, do you feel this way too?
He murdered 21 pilots.
What the hell kind of talk is that?
That's not a thing to say about a man.
What else can you say? When they took him away, I followed him. Went to him every visiting day. I was crying all the time. Until the news came about Larry. Then I realized it's wrong to pity a man. Father or no father, there's only one way to look at him. He knowingly shipped out parts that would crash an airplane. And how do we know that Larry wasn't one of them?
I was waiting for that. As long as you're here, Annie, I want to ask you to never say that again.
You surprised me. I thought you'd be mad at him.
What your father did had nothing to do with Larry. Nothing.
But we can't know that.
As long as you're here,
Okay.
put that out of your head.
Because
That's all. That's enough. Now come inside and have some tea with me.
And she really.
He's not dead, so there's no argument. Now come.
In a minute. Listen, Annie.
Alright, Dad, stop it.
No, she doesn't feel the same.
I'm sick of the whole subject. Now just cut it out.
What's the matter with you? Those heads only went into P-40s. You know Larry never flew one.
So who flew those P-40s then? Pigs?
The man was a fool, but don't make a murderer out of him. You see what it does to her? Listen, you gotta appreciate what we was doing in the shop during the war. The both of you. It was a madhouse. Every half hour, the major just calling us for those heads. They were whipping us with the telephone. So, all of a sudden, a batch comes out with a crack. That happens. That's the business. A fine hairline crack. So, he's a little man, your father. Always afraid of big voices. What'll a major say? If half of production is shot, what'll I say? Just try to see it human. So your dad takes out all of his tools and he covers all the cracks. That's wrong, it's bad, but it's not murder. All alone, he was afraid, but I know he meant no harm. He thought they'd hold up 100%. That's a mistake, but it's not murder. You mustn't feel the way that you feel about him. It's not right, you hear me?
Let's just forget it, Joe.
Annie, when the news came about Larry, he was in a cell next to mine. Dead. And he cried, Annie. He cried half the night.
Well, he should have cried all night.
Annie, I do not...
Are you gonna stop it?
Don't yell at him. He just wants everybody happy.
That's my sentiments. Can you stand steak?
And champagne.
Now you're operating. I'll call Swanson's for a table. Big time tonight, Annie.
Can't scare me.
Wrap her up. I like her. You got nice legs, Annie. I want to see everybody drunk tonight. Look at him. He's blushing.
Drink your tea, Casanova. Isn't he a great guy?
You're the only one I know who loves his parents.
I know, it went out of style, didn't it?
It's alright. It's a good thing. You know, it's lovely here. The air is sweet.
You're not sorry you came?
Not sorry, no, but I'm not going to stay.
Why?
In the first place, your mother's much just told me to go.
Well,
You saw that. And then you. You've been kind of,
what?
well, kind of embarrassed ever since I got here.
The trouble is, I kind of planned on sneaking up on you over a period of a week or so. But they take it for granted that we're all set.
I knew they would. Your mother, anyway.
How did you know?
From her point of view, why else would I come?
Well, would you want to? I guess you know this is why I asked you to go.
I guess this is why I came.
And I love you. I love you a great deal. I love you. I have no imagination. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm embarrassing you. I didn't want to tell it to you here. I wanted someplace we've never been. A place where we're brand new to each other. You feel it's wrong here, don't you? This yard, this chair. I want you to be ready for me, and I don't want to win you away from anything.
Chris, I've been ready a long, long time.
And he's gone forever, you're sure?
I almost got married 2 years ago.
Well, why didn't you?
You started to write to me.
You felt something that far back.
Every day since.
And why didn't you let me know?
I was waiting for you, Chris. Till then you never wrote. And when you did, what did you say? You sure can be ambiguous, you know.
And give me a kiss, just... Oh, God. I kissed you. I kissed you, Annie. I kissed Annie. How long have I been waiting to kiss you?
I'll never forgive you. Why did you make me wait all these years? All I've done is sit and wonder if I was crazy for thinking of you.
Annie, you're gonna be so happy. We're gonna live now.
Not like that, we're not.
But I kissed you.
Like Larry's brother. Do it like you, Chris. What is it, Chris?
Let's drive someplace. I want to be alone with
No. What is it, your mother?
you. No, it's nothing like that.
Then what's wrong? Even in your letters there was something ashamed.
Yes, I suppose I have been. But it's going from me.
You've got to tell me.
I don't know how to start.
It wouldn't work this way.
It's all mixed up with so many other things. You remember overseas, I was in command of a company?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I lost them.
How many?
Just about all.
Oh, gee.
It takes a little time to toss that off. Because they weren't just men. For instance, one time it had been raining several days and this kid came to me and he gave me his last pair of dry socks. Just put them in my pocket. I mean, that's only a little thing, but that's the kind of guys I had. They didn't die, they killed themselves for each other. I mean that exactly. A little more selfish and they'd have been here today. But I got an idea watching them go down. Everything was being destroyed, see? But it seemed to me that one new thing was made. A kind of responsibility. Man for man. You understand me? To show that. To bring that onto the earth like some kind of a monument. And everyone would feel it standing there behind him. And it would make a difference to him. And then I came home. And it was incredible. There was no meaning in it here. The whole thing to them was a kind of a bus accident. I went back to work with Dad and that rat race again, and I felt what you said, ashamed somehow, because nobody was changed at all. We seemed to make suckers out of a lot of guys. I felt wrong to be alive, to open the bank book, to drive the new car, to see the new refrigerator. I mean, you can take those things out of a war, but when you drive that car, you've got to know that it came out of the love a man can have for a man. You've got to be a little better because of that. Otherwise, what you have is really loot. And there's blood on it. And I didn't want to take any of that. And I guess that included you.
And you still feel that way?
No, I want you now, Annie.
Because you mustn't feel that way anymore, Chris. Because you have a right to everything you have. Understand that? To me too. And the money. There's nothing wrong with your money. Your father put hundreds of planes in the air. A man should be paid for that.
Annie, I'm gonna make you a fortune.
Hello? Yeah, sure.
What'll I do with the fortune?
Hey. What is this, Labor Day?
All right.
Shouldn't burst out like that.
Well, I didn't know it was Labor Day. Where's the hot dogs?
All right, you said it once.
As long as I know it's Labor Day, I'll wear a bell around my neck.
So subtle.
George Bernard Shaw is an elephant.
George, you kissed it right out of my mind.
Your brother's on the phone.
My brother?
Yeah, George. Long distance.
What's the matter? Something wrong?
I don't know. Kate's talking to him. Hurry up or she'll cost him $5.
I wonder if you have to tell your mother now. I mean, I'm not very good in an argument.
We'll wait till tonight, after dinner. Not okay, Tess. Just leave it to me.
What are you telling me?
Go ahead, Anne. We're getting married, Dad. Well, don't you say anything?
I'm glad, Chris. George is calling from Columbus.
Columbus?
Did Annie tell you that he was going to see his father today?
No, I don't think she knew anything about it.
Chris, do you think you know her well?
What kind of a question is that?
I'm just saying. All these years, George never goes see his father. All of a sudden he does, and she comes here.
Well, what about it?
It's crazy, but it comes to my mind. This is his daughter. I mean, if she was sent here to find something out.
Why? What is there to find out?
Why are you so excited, George? What happened there?
I mean, if they want to reopen the case for the nuisance value to hurt us.
Dad,
Well,
how could you
didn't
think
tell
that
us,
of her?
For God's sake.
Couldn't be. You know.
Dad, you amaze me.
All right. Let's just forget it. I want to first start for you, Chris. I want to put a new sign over the plant. Christopher Keller Incorporated.
J.O. Keller was good enough.
We'll talk about it. I want you to spread out, Chris, and use what I've made for you. With joy, Chris, without shame. With joy.
I will, Dad.
Say it to me.
Why?
Because sometimes I feel you're ashamed of the money.
No, don't feel that.
Because there's nothing wrong with that money. It's good money.
You don't have to tell me this, Dad.
All right, Chris. I'll go to work on Mother for you tonight. We'll get her so drunk that we'll all get married. It's gonna be a wedding, kid, like there was never seen before. Champagne,
Simply because when you
tuxedos.
get excited, you don't control yourself. Well, what did he say to you, for God's sake? All right, come then. Yes, they'll all be here. Nobody's running away from you, and try to get a hold of yourself, will you? All right. All right, goodbye.
Something happened?
He's coming here.
On the 7 o'clock. He's in Columbus. I told him it'd be alright.
Your dad took sick.
No. George didn't say he was sick. I don't know. I suppose it's something stupid. You know my brother. Say, let's go for a drive or something.
Sure. Give me the keys, Dad.
Drive through the park. It's beautiful now.
Come on. Be back right away.
See you.
Take your time. What does George want?
He's been in Columbus since this morning with Steve. He's got to see Annie right away, he says.
What for?
I don't know. George is a lawyer now, Joe. George is a lawyer. All these years since he's returned from the war, he hasn't even sent a postcard to Steve. Not a postcard.
So what?
Suddenly he takes an airplane to see him? An airplane?
Well, so what?
Why?
I don't know. I don't read minds. Do you?
What has Steve suddenly got to tell him that George takes an airplane to see him?
And what do I care what Steve's got to tell him?
You're sure, Joe?
Yes. I'm sure.
The boy is coming, Joe. Be smart. The boy is coming.
Once and for all. You heard what I said. I said I'm sure.
All right. Just be smart. put on your good pants to do that. You know, there's more light with that thing gone.
Why aren't you dressing?
I'm suffocating upstairs. I made a grape drink for Georgie. He always liked grape. Come have some.
Well, come on, get dressed. And what's Dad sleeping so much for?
Oh, he's worried. He sleeps when he's worried. We're dumb, Chris. Dad and I are stupid people. We don't know anything. You've got to protect us.
You're silly. What's there to be afraid of?
To his last day in court, Steve never gave up the idea that Dad made him do it. If they're going to open the case again, I won't live through it.
George is just a damn fool, Mother. How can you take him so seriously?
That family hates us, Chris. Maybe even Anna.
Now, Mother.
You think just because you like everybody, they like you too.
All right, stop it. Just leave everything to me.
When George goes home, tell her to go with him.
Don't worry about Annie.
Steve is her father too.
Are you gonna cut it out? Now come.
You don't realize how people can hate, Chris. They can hate so much that they'll just tear the world to pieces.
Look, she's dressed already. I've just gotta put on the shirt.
Are you feeling well, Kate?
You know, dear, there's some people, the sicker they get, the longer they live.
You look nice.
We're going to tell her tonight.
Absolutely, don't worry about it.
I wish we could tell her now. I can't stand scheming. My stomach gets all hard.
It's not scheming. We'll just catch her in a better mood.
You know who's relaxed in there is your father. He's fast asleep.
I'm relaxed.
Are you?
Look. Now let me know when George gets here.
Johnny, come get your supper.
Is my husband home? I'm terribly sorry.
It's alright. I'm a little silly about the dark. It is getting dark. Are you looking for your husband?
As usual, he spends so much time here that we're charging rent.
Oh, nobody was dressed, so he drove over to the depot to pick up my brother.
Oh, your brother's in.
Yeah. They ought to be here any minute now. Will you have a cold drink?
I love things. My husband, too hot to drive me to the beach. Man, I like little boys. For the neighbors, I'll always cut the grass.
Well, people like to do things for the Kellers. Been that way since I can remember.
It's amazing. So, I guess your brother is coming in to give you away, huh?
I don't know, I suppose.
You must be all nerved up.
Always a problem getting yourself married, isn't it?
That depends on your shape, of course. I see you shouldn't have a problem.
I've had chances.
I'll bet. It's romantic. It's very unusual to me, marrying the brother of your sweetheart.
I don't know. I think it's just that whenever I needed somebody to tell me the truth, I've always thought of Chris. When he tells you something, you know it's so. He relaxes me.
And he's got money, that's important, you know.
It wouldn't matter much to me.
It makes all the difference, trust me. I married an intern on my salary, and it was bad because as soon as a woman supports a man, he owes her something. You can never resent someone without owing them. That's true, you know.
Underneath, I think the doctor is very devoted.
Oh, certainly, but it's bad when a man always sees the bars in front of him. Jim thinks he's in jail all the time.
Oh.
That's why I've been intending to ask you a small favor, and it's something very important to me.
Certainly, if I can do it.
You can. When you think of housekeeping, try to find a place away from here.
Are you fooling?
I'm very serious. My husband is very unhappy with Chris around.
How is that?
Jim's a successful doctor. He's got an idea to do medical research, discover things, you see.
Isn't that good?
Research pays $25 a week. Mine is laundering the hair shirt. You got to give up your whole life to go into it.
So how does Chris...
Chris makes people want to be better than it's possible to be. Chris does that to people.
Is that bad?
My husband has a family here. Every time he has a session with Chris, he feels as though he's not compromising everything for research. As though Chris or anybody else isn't compromising. This happens to him once a year. He meets some men and makes a statue out of them.
maybe he's right. I don't mean that Chris is a
Now,
statue,
you know
but
he's not right, dear.
I don't agree with you. Chris is a very
Oh,
hard
let's
worker.
face it, dear. Chris is working with his father, isn't he? He's taking money out of that business every week in the year.
What of it?
You asking me what of it?
I certainly do ask you. You want to cast aspersions like that. I'm surprised at you.
You're surprised at me.
He never takes 5 cents out of that plant if there was anything wrong in it.
You know that.
I know it. I resent everything you said.
You know what I resent, dear?
Please, I don't want to argue.
I resent living next door to that holy family. Makes me look like a bum, you understand?
You can't do anything about that.
Who is he to ruin a man's life? Everyone knows that Joe pulled the fast one just to get out of jail.
That's not true.
Then why don't you go out and talk to people? Go on, talk to them. There's not one person on this block who doesn't know the truth.
That's a lie. People come here all the time for cards and...
Oh, so what? They give Joe credit for being smart. I do too. I've got nothing against him. But if Chris wants people to put on a hair shirt, let him take off his broadcloth. He's driving my husband crazy with this phony idealism of his, and I'm at the end of my rope on it. Oh, hello, darling. How's mother?
I thought George came.
Oh, no, it's just us.
Susie, do me a favor, huh? Go up to Mother and see if you can calm her. She's all worked up.
Oh, she still doesn't know about you two, huh?
She senses it, I guess.
Oh, yeah, the email's a psychic.
Maybe there's something in the medicine chest.
I'll just give her one every day. Don't worry about Kate. Dance her around a little, give her a few drinks. She'll love you, Ann, because you are the female version of him. And don't be alarmed I said version.
Interesting woman, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very interesting.
You know, she's a great nurse.
Are you still doing that?
Doing what?
As soon as you get to know